I went camping alone because I needed to be alone. That sounds dramatic, but it wasn't meant to be. My life had just become loud in a quiet way. Too many thoughts, too many memories, too many days where I felt like I was sitting inside my own head listening to old conversations echo. So I picked a random patch of forest on a map, far from any marked campground, and decided I would spend a week there with no phone service, no people, no noise except whatever the woods decided to give me. I packed light but smart. Tent, sleeping bag, small stove, water filter, dry food, first aid, flashlight, extra batteries, knife, rope, tarp, and a small hatchet. I left my phone in the car. I brought a notebook and a pen. I wanted to feel the days. The drive took nearly 6 hours. The last hour was on gravel roads that barely counted as roads. By the time I parked, the sun was already low. I locked the car, slung my pack over my shoulders, and followed a barely visible trail for about 40 minutes until the forest closed in around me. No trail markers, no signs, just trees and undergrowth and the sound of insects. I chose a small clearing near a shallow creek and set up my tent before dark. That first night was perfect. Cool air, steady water sounds, stars everywhere. I cooked rice and beans, ate slowly, and lay on my back watching the sky until my eyes got heavy. When I fell asleep, I slept deeply. The second day I explored. Nothing special. Just walking, noticing animal tracks, collecting firewood, cleaning a small space around camp. I saw deer prints near the creek and what looked like a black bear track near a fallen log, but it wasn't fresh. I made myself calm. This was their home. I was the visitor. The second night I heard something walking far off in the dark. Heavy steps, slow and careful. I didn't leave my tent. It passed and the forest went quiet again. The third day was warm and bright. I hiked further than before, following the creek upstream. The water narrowed and the ground got steeper. At one point I smelled something wrong. A thick, sweet, rotten smell that didn't belong in open air. I walked toward it carefully and found a dead deer tangled in brush. It had been there a while. I stayed upwind and moved on. That night, I had my first bad feeling. It came after midnight. I woke up for no reason. No noise, no dream, just that sudden wide-awake feeling. The forest was still. Too still. Even the bugs had gone quiet. I lay there listening. My tent fabric moved slightly as the breeze shifted. I heard my own breathing. Then I heard something else. Footsteps. Not animal steps. Not the 4-beat rhythm of a deer or the heavy drag of a bear. These were steady, spaced, upright steps. Slow. Careful. Moving through dry leaves. They circled the edge of my camp. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I didn't reach for my light. The steps stopped near the creek. Water moved. I heard something dip into it. Then more steps, coming closer, stopping again near my tent. I stayed still for what felt like hours. Eventually the steps moved away and faded into the trees. The forest stayed quiet the rest of the night. In the morning I found footprints in the soft dirt near the creek. Human footprints. Large boots. Deep heel marks. They led around my camp and disappeared into the woods. I was far from any trail. far from any road. Nobody should have been there. I packed up immediately and moved my camp about a mile deeper into the forest. I didn't like the idea of being easy to find again. I chose higher ground, away from water, in thick trees. It took most of the day to settle in again. That night I slept badly. Every sound felt close. Branches snapping. Wind in the leaves. Something small scratching at my tent. At one point I thought I heard breathing outside, but when I held my own breath, I couldn't be sure. The fourth day the weather changed. Clouds rolled in. The air went heavy. Everything felt slow. I tried to distract myself by writing and walking and keeping busy. I kept telling myself that the footprints could belong to a hunter, or a hiker who wandered off trail, but deep down I didn't believe that. That evening I cooked early and put my food up in a tree, then retreated into my tent as the forest darkened. Around midnight, it happened again. Footsteps. Closer this time. Slower. Purposeful. They stopped just outside my tent. I lay frozen. I could hear fabric shifting, as if someone was crouching. A faint sound of breath. Then the smell. The same thick, sweet rot from the dead deer mixed with sweat and something else I couldn't place. Minutes passed. Then something brushed the side of my tent. Light pressure. Fingertips maybe. Moving along the fabric. My heart hammered so hard I was sure whoever was out there could hear it. I stayed absolutely still. Eventually the pressure stopped. The steps retreated. I did not sleep after that. At first light I packed everything and decided I was leaving. Whatever was out there was not an accident. It was watching me. I started hiking back toward the car. By midday I noticed something wrong. The forest looked familiar but not in the right way. I should have crossed the creek by then. I hadn't. The ground sloped wrong. The trees were thicker than before. I checked my compass. It was spinning slowly, never settling. I kept walking. In the afternoon I found one of my own footprints in the mud. I had walked in a circle. That's when panic set in. I forced myself to stop and breathe. I ate a granola bar with shaking hands. I sat on a rock and studied the land. I noticed broken branches that weren't there earlier. Scratches on bark that were too high for deer. I chose a direction and committed to it. The sky darkened. Clouds thickened. The air felt wrong. Then I heard it. The footsteps. Behind me. Matching my pace. Not close enough to see. Not far enough to ignore. I turned suddenly. Nothing. But the smell was there again. Stronger. I walked faster. The steps followed. By evening I reached a rocky slope and climbed until I found a narrow ledge just wide enough for me to sit. The cliff behind me meant nothing could approach from that side. I stayed there as night fell. The forest below was alive with sound. Insects, wind, distant animals. And then silence. Complete silence. Out of the darkness below, something moved. I couldn't see it clearly, but I knew it was watching me. I felt it. The air pressed against my skin. I waited until my legs cramped and my back ached. When dawn came, it was gone. I climbed down and kept moving. By afternoon I finally heard it. The faint hum of traffic. A road. I broke through the trees and nearly collapsed onto the gravel shoulder of the same road where my car was parked. My car was untouched. I drove away without looking back. Weeks later I learned that a man had gone missing in those woods months before. Search teams never found him. No body. No trace. Sometimes at night I still smell that sweet rot in my room. Sometimes I wake up and think I hear footsteps in my hallway. I will never camp alone again.